I've been doing a series of short interviews with the maker of products I've been recommending for years. These are products that get you moving in some way. I'm curious about people and the ways they work in the world, and I'm also inspired by them, especially those who see a problem and get to work with their hands and minds, tinkering to try to fix it with a physical object. So we are almost at the end of this series, but today we get to meet Eva Nemchik. She's a chemist who came to the United States in 1971 from Czechoslovakia with her husband and 2 children. She worked for GE Lighting Division for 26 years, and she played a lot of tennis. And then she had some foot trouble. And out of that, Happy Feet alignment socks were born. Hello, Eva. Welcome to Move Your DNA.
Hello, Katy.
I think that's a great story. Can you tell us a little bit more about how your company got started? Like, how does a chemist who works for General Electric end up developing foot alignment socks?
Well, it was really a necessity, out of necessity, because as you said, I am a avid tennis player, and when I retired, I had lots of time on my hands, so I was doing lots of physical activities, and my feet didn't like it that much. So I tried to do some home remedies, buy some a little from the catalog, and they were all helpful, but they really were kind of user unfriendly. And me being on hand person, so I said, well, I can probably do something better. And I made myself a pair cut off from the regular socks, the top, and sewed by hand. And I made a couple prototypes and give it to my friends who suffered the same with their feet. But the idea actually came from my yoga teacher. She said, put your fingers between your toes and wiggle it and hold it, and it's very good for your feet. And so I thought, if it's a minute or two is helpful, you can't really sit longer than that, twisted like a pretzel, holding your toes.
Yeah.
I said, well, probably longer exposure is better. And that's what actually came to my mind to create these dividers. And I sewed it to the socks.
I didn't know that. That's great. So you had kind of an efficiency personality type of going, okay, if I need to do this to get better, I need to be able to do it for more than my time in class. Okay, so making something to solve a problem for yourself and then mass producing something to take to market, like what made you want to do that step?
Well, because I made several pairs and everybody just loved them.
Okay.
I said, well, maybe, just maybe, we can make a business out of it. So I was looking for a manufacturer. Of course, in United States, nobody even wanted to touch it because, well, they liked the idea, but it wasn't a mass production at that time. An old lady has a good idea. That doesn't mean that you can make put it into a big production. But fortunately, I found a small company in China. Later on, they went out of business, as lots of small companies do. And they made a sample, and I liked them. And I asked them, I said, what is the smallest amount what you can make me? They said, well, a unit is 1,000. And
Did you have that many friends?
I said, my gosh, 1,000 pairs. What we are going to do with 1,000 pairs? Well, then they send it out in writing, and I find out it was 1,000 dozen.
1,000 dozen pair, 12,000 pairs?
Yes. Yeah, that was their minimum. So we took a second mortgage on a house.
Wow.
And I said, let's try it. We got it, and 3 months later, we were out of inventory.
Wow. Where did you sell them at first?
Well, the catalog, Dr. Leonard's picked it up.
Hmm.
And then actually Dr. Leonard's get us into Sky Mall.
Mm-hmm. Good old Sky Mall.
And that made us a kind of worldwide spread. Yeah.
So for those of you who haven't read Sky Mall, it's a catalog that's almost all in airplanes, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just imagine all those trapped readers, because that's when I read Sky Mall. I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to read. But everyone with achy feet. I mean, a lot of people have achy feet anyway. And it really, your socks are such a simple solution. I mean, they are a solution that a lot of people are completely blown away. You know, how simple. Why didn't I think of this type of stuff?
Practical. Very practical.
Yeah. Yeah. You just put them on while you're doing other stuff, which everyone who listens to this show knows. And I'm a big fan of getting movement while you're busy doing other things, because many people don't have time to sit there and spread their toes and only spread their toes for a long period of time. So here's my question. I've recommended your socks for years. You've been selling your socks for years. At what point did you add to the label, or has it always been on there, the idea of if you're going to start wearing alignment socks? And I just want to take a second to explain to everyone listening what alignment socks are. These are socks that basically don't cover the toes. Instead, when you put them on, your toes go through the sock so that you've got this kind of finger-sized bit of material between each toe, which pushes your toes away from each other, which spreads the toes, kind of like the exercise that I try to have people do a lot. It's the opposite if you wear tight shoes or shoes with small toe boxes that push your toes together. It's basically like a sock that does the opposite to what your too narrow shoes might be doing to your feet. So I've recommended them for years, and when people put them on for the first time, they can only wear them for a small amount of time before, you know, if you've been doing if you sat with your fingers between your toes for 20 minutes, that's a lot of exercise. That's a lot of exercise for a tiny muscle that has spent a lifetime not getting that much movement. So at what point did you add it's not a warning, but it's kind of a user note saying you use these little bits at a time until you're able to tolerate them for longer? Was that always from the beginning, or is that based on user feedback?
I think it was from the very beginning, because I find that on myself that I couldn't take it too long, or when I relaxed and I had them on for a half an hour, took them off, it felt good. But when I tried to use it overnight, I just had to jump up and rip them off in the middle of the night because they were really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
For a longer period of time. So yeah, I think they were from the very beginning.
Can you sleep with them throughout a night now?
Oh yeah, yes.
So I go through periods of just being really diligent about wearing my socks, and then I get diligent about doing other things. But I started putting them back on in the summertime when I was doing a lot of movement. I like them because they just keep my feet mobile, which in the end really helps my knees and hips deal with a lot of exercise. Especially when I'm done with winter time, when I've been in shoes, I kind of use them more as I'm transitioning to summer feet, right? Where I'm usually barefoot more often. So they're part of my training program, but I still am not a all the way through the night person. Like if I put them on, I don't wake up and rip them off my feet. I take them off in my sleep at some point. I don't know when that is, but I have never been able to make it all the way through. So that's going to be my goal.
Yeah, try not to pull them all the way down to the bottom of your toes.
Oh, right. I always wear them all the way down.
Yeah. You know, Katy, we came out together, I think, with this slogan that high heel antidote.
High heel hangover antidote.
Yes.
Yes.
I cannot emphasize enough for people who are wearing high heels at work and then they come home with achy feet. Please wear those socks, because later on you will pay for those pretty shoes.
Well, we're getting to the holiday season. This is going to come out. This will air in November. And a lot of people who maybe don't wear high heels all that often. I mean, there are certainly people who wear high heels every day for work or preference. But for those who put on heels for the dress up part of the year, right? We've got holidays and New Year's Eve and probably more dancing and going out. If you're not used to wearing them, here is my high heel hangover antidote. It's My-HappyFeet socks, any of those toe spreaders. So you put them on all around the time when you're around the house and not wearing your high heels. When you wake up the next morning with achy feet, before you go out, put a water bottle in your freezer so the next morning you can take it out and roll your foot on it. So instead of rolling your foot on a ball, you can roll it on a contained ice cube that's also round, so you can kind of stretch and then do the calf stretch. I mean, do those 3 things, you can kind of get your feet through the perils of the holiday shoe, if you will.
That's a news for me, the ice bottle. That's a good idea.
It's a good one because it's basically round, so it massages your foot, but it's cold. So if you also have the inflammation, you can deal with the cold and the circulation or the mobility at the same time. You can do all those 3 things stacked, but you need to put your bottle in the freezer before you go out because you're going to not want to wait for it in the morning. So if you just want to keep a couple of those going in the freezer throughout the holiday season, your feet will thank you.
Yes.
Okay, do you have like the best story? Do you have people submit, not testimonials, but like how much they love your socks and what they did?
I have one wonderful one. The lady wrote me that I have 2 pairs and I go to bed, I put 1 pair in my hands and the other pair on my feet. And I just kind of wonder why she's putting them on her hands.
Huh.
Well, in course of the month, I developed a neuropathy in my hands.
Oh.
And I tried those socks, and I can't believe myself how much difference do they make in the morning.
You're blowing my mind right now. You're just saying that my happy feet can also be my happy hands.
That's right.
It's blowing my mind because I teach all of these hand stretching exercises. Think about if everyone put your hands in the computer position, right? They're close together. Wow. I can hear all of the My-HappyFeet users now just realizing that the medicine that they've been putting on their feet in the form of socks can also be used on their hands.
Yeah, and I
Whoa.
idea from a lady who uses these socks.
I know. That's the beauty of it, is that innovation. People are so innovative. You create a thing and now someone else is going to create a thing. That's amazing. I was very sorry to hear that your husband passed away in 2016. So you've been experiencing some life changes. At the end of last year, you sold My-HappyFeet, but you're still involved. So what's next for the company?
It's surprisingly, I was approached with several podiatrists to do baby socks because lots of babies are born with some deformities in their feet, and they are putting them into cast, which is overdone. It's a little bit more than they really need, but they don't have anything else to start with. So I started doing baby socks. It's a little bit challenging because baby feet are growing very fast.
Yeah.
And plus, they are not going to be able to, I won't be able to order 12,000 pairs
Yeah.
of one size of baby socks. So it's kind of challenging, but I am on my pretty good cooperation with the manufacturer. So we came out with some solution how we can kind of make it stretchy that they could use it longer. But it's, again, what size the dividers, how big, how fat. So it has to be kind of tested out more thoroughly than just put it on the market and have the users decide whether they are comfortable with the size of the dividers or not.
Yeah, my mechanical brain is working just to think of how everyone could scale the material between the toes. Like, how could that be scalable and adjustable?
Yeah, that's what I am wrestling with.
Well, once I'm thinking about it, I won't be able to stop thinking about it. So if I have, like, in my mind, I can think of air. You know what I mean? Like Nike Airs, like the fact that you can pump them up to the extent that you want, but then you could also remove the air so it makes them scalable, and also how to make them more, I don't know what the word is, durationable is not the right English word, but like how someone could use the same pair even though the foot was growing by being able to add or remove mass. Okay, well, I'll think about it and I will let you know if I come up with anything.
Oh, that sounds good. Sometimes the idea is wonderful. The execution is more challenging.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's probably good doable. Yeah. Thank you, Katie.
Oh, well, anything else you want to tell our listeners?
Well, keep wearing those socks, because if you have any problem with your feet, you don't have to run for professional help, because sometimes it's not something which needs more than just a little help.
Yeah, I think that in many cases, what's ailing so many people's feet is a lack of movement of the feet themselves, right? So just always start by changing up your movement a little bit or a lot.
Yeah. Well, I live what you preach. Move your DNA. And I am exercising 3 times a week. And in my age is sometimes challenging, but that makes me going because I keep moving.
Well, are your feet happy?
Oh, very much so.
Well, that's all that matters. Eva Nemchik is the founder of My-HappyFeet alignment socks. You can find out more about them at my-happyfeet.com, and we'll link to them in our show notes as well. And also, Happy Feet is offering you 12% off your next purchase through their website. Just use the coupon code, are you ready? Katy. That's Katy. Why? Because that's how it's spelled. I have been lots of things, friends, but this is the first time I've ever been a coupon code. Eva, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you very much. And keep writing those wonderful books. I enjoy them.
Oh, thank you.